Okay, question. Technology, the big city, and closing every deal in that city. What do these three things have in common? You, in less than a week.
He's not your typical scientist. In fact, he's not one at all. He is a sales genius.
I do science too. My instincts told me there were real customers trapped in the website somehow. And I knew with the right technology, we'd be able to see everything the customers were doing on the site. And if we could see everything, sky was the limit.
How did you know I was back in the market for a sports car? I was just on your website today.
Well, let's just say I have a second set of eyes.
Foureyes. Even when it looks like they're not there, they're there.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Anne-Marie. This is another ASOTU Edge webinar. Today we're going to be joined by our friends over at Foureyes. We're going to be talking about data. So the struggle is real and data is destroying the customer experience. So we're going to be hearing from Dave Steinberg. He is the founder and CEO of Foureyes, and he's going to be joined by Jeff Ramsey, who's the variable operations director at Ourisman Automotive Group. So I'm going to give it over to Paul and Kyle for a minute, and we'll see you all in a little bit.
Kyle, have you ever seen that commercial before?
I haven't, and I'm like,
I was smiling from ear to ear that whole time.
Where did they come from? I love it. Well, first of all, it's just super fun. We need more people just thinking of innovative content in auto because there needs to be less stuffiness and everybody does the same thing. And here's a little like whiteboard video of what we do. So kudos when they come on, and we'll just give them a little kudos again. We're talking about data though, Paul.
Yes.
Or as you call it, data.
No, you call it data. I call it data.
It's tomato, tomato.
We joked that one day we're going to like wear two t-shirts and he's going to have the phonetic spelling of data and he's going to have the phonetic spelling of data. That's actually how we're different people. That's the only really way that people can tell.
That's the only way we're different. So here's what's tricky for me, Paul, right? Because I think that our industry by and large has been talking about data or data for a significant amount of time. We've been like, we need good data. We need to fix this. We need to own your own data. First party data, cookieless future is upon us. All of this type of stuff. And we primarily talk about data as a trailing indicator for everything that we're doing. And it's either a trailing indicator or it's like, well, we have all this data. I don't know what to do about it. And there's never been like a way to say, this is definitively what's going on in the space. And this is how you can use it. And you don't have to just like look at some reports and hope that they
not
did
just
well.
A history lesson, right? It's not just a history lesson. And that's the truth. You know, I think one of the biggest problems with the conversation right now is that there are so many voices saying variations of the same thing, but in a way where the landing point is different. So I think a lot of people are just confused, right? You live in this world a lot more than I do. And I have to say, from like someone who doesn't like live in it, breathe it every day, it's like super confusing. And I think that just leads to vendors or partners who are subpar to be able to like sell a less than message, right? Because people just don't know, right? Because when you're on the call and you don't know, you just feel you feel the need to like nod your head like, okay, that sounds good. I don't fully understand it.
Yeah. Or someone says AI, right? And it's like,
gosh, that's
they must have it down, right? And interestingly enough, AI and data are like very intertwined because they both understand each other very well. They look at each other, they inform each other. And so there's just a web to untangle. And the problem is when we don't untangle it, what starts to happen is we don't actually care for the customer on the other side. Right. That's the biggest danger for me.
That's right. That's right. Well, I love our guest today. First of all, David is like an incurable entrepreneur whom I always kind of like just gravitate toward, people who just like need to build the better mousetrap. They need to see that there's a better way and they have to do it. So I'm excited to have somebody who just like levels the amount of passion on everything they do. And if you can make commercials with old Ferraris in them, that's pretty great too.
There you go. And then Jeff, I've known Jeff for a few years now, and been talking about just marketing and exactly what happens with the customer, and just has a resolved outlook on how we approach customers, how we approach analytics, and what decisions we make on it now, and has since crossed over from just being on the marketing side, but to being on the operations side. And I think as those two things come together, as marketing and operations and data meets in the middle, we get a lot of great insight. So we don't want to talk too much because,
they need to talk.
We got thoughts and ideas, but we're going to have some other people talk thoughts and ideas. So let's do this. Let's bring on in Jeff and David, and let's get after it, Yo, what's up, everybody?
Paul, Kyle, Jeff, great to see you guys.
How we doing?
Hey.
Good to see you.
All right, give us like the 30 seconds. Describe what you do and who you do it for in 30 seconds or less. Jeff, you're first.
I'm first. I was going to let most important go first, but okay, I'm here. So I'm Jeff Ramsey. I'm the variable operations director for Ourisman, the Ourisman Auto Group. So I oversee variable ops for 17 locations that are owned by Robert Ourisman. We're continuing to grow. We've got we have stores opening in the very near future. And so I oversee sales and marketing for this group and continually try to evolve things and help grow the business and do it in the craziest market that we've ever experienced. I think it's crazier right now than during COVID because it's entirely unpredictable.
Isn't that right? All right, Jeff or David, give it to us. Give it to us hot. Go.
So Foureyes is sales enablement business intelligence software, right? So we serve about 1,600 and growing auto dealers, auto groups. We have some great big groups that including some of the best in the world that you probably know about that are using the platform that basically allows you to bring data together across your website, your CRM, your inventory, and really make sense of it, sort of get the noise out and allow you to understand like what's really happening, how is performance, speed, right? Get data fast. Like if you can't get it fast, you can't really get it. If something takes you 3 hours to run, like a lot of information's interesting sometimes. So if it takes you 3 hours to run to find out it's not interesting today, you're not going to do that exercise very much. So the question is, well, how do you get that 10 to be 10 seconds? So when it is interesting, you can find those opportunities. So Jeff and Jeff has been a huge ally. And also what's unique about Jeff is he's been on both sides of the house, but he also is really good. Like the thing we always say in our team is good data doesn't answer questions. It asks better questions. So the job in us people who deliver information is not to try to answer or editorialize. It's to try to give information in a way that when they ask that better question, they can also drill down to that better question. And Jeff is a pro at sort of saying like, here's what you're showing me. Here's the better question. And so our teams grow constantly from that process.
That's awesome. Jeff, do me a favor. Give me like the Cliff Notes history of like your journey and maybe the dealer's journey over the last 3, 4, 5 years in like what it's felt like to better understand what data is actually at your fingertips and how like as it starts coming at you, that changes your approach. What have been the key moments that you think that dealers or yourself have kind of met over the last 4 or 5 years that have led us to where we're at presently?
I mean, I can go way back. I mean, I've been my intro to selling or to the automotive industry was my first real job was selling cars, and then the crash in like 2008 occurred. I got a couple months where I had a nice income, and then it was all gone. But during that time, the introduction of, hey, Jeff, you know how to type. You're our internet guy now, so you can answer these 4 leads that we get a month. Help with this website, and that's where the career started. And, it's evolved to where finding what 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 guides the customer towards the sale, not looking at, like, for so long it was just like, we're getting this many leads, we're converting at this percent, but finding, like, okay, well, let's get away from the actual lead. What makes that customer actually become a sale? There's so much more traffic. If 1% of our website traffic is converting, the other 99%, what's actually going on here? And so over the course of the last decade, well, I guess even further than a decade, I'm getting old. You get to really see what makes customers tick, because at the end of the day, when everyone's talking about leads, I've always asked, tell me the last lead you put in the system for anything. And most people look at me with a blank face and say, so obviously you don't shop that way. Why are we grading our entire industry that way? So, I guess for me, those are the big questions. It's always been, how do I return people to the site? How do I keep people thinking of me when they're ready to buy a car? So I guess that's a really broad, general, rambled answer of it's been a lot of years of trying to figure out what makes customers tick, how to make everything come together. It's not leads. It's about that whole buying journey, customer experience, everything. Trying to figure out how to improve that.
Well,
Does that answer the question?
Yeah,
I feel like I could have that one for 20 minutes.
You said it was rambling, but I think the big takeaway is that you've been doing it from like the very beginning of us trying to measure things this way, right? Like, I think that's the big takeaway. And as it comes in through that channel, right? Like the conversation, you put it right back on the people that are saying, like, this is what I'm following. And you say, well, like, do you do it that way? No. It's like, well, then how come that's the standard all of a sudden? And that's my wife is often the litmus test for me, because I'm like, I watch how she shops for things, because she's not thinking about anything. She's not thinking about retargeting. She's not thinking about any of that stuff. So it's always like, when I watch her shop, I'm like, yeah, it's like, I would never have put that flow into a chart and said, like, this is how she's going to find her way to that product ever.
All right. So then, David, give us, because I think what's interesting about what Jeff just said is he's like, I feel like that's super broad. It's just everything. There's just so much going in here. And though that's the case, and there's just this depth, it's almost like that's still only, and kind of, you put it this way, the tip of the iceberg. So, like, walk us down from your viewpoint, like, where the status of dealer/consumer data is right now in auto.
Well, I think, like, right now, there's been this huge problem, and we're all talking about it, right? We all, like, all us vendors say siloed data is this big problem. Well, guess what? Like, siloed data actually exists in every industry, right? You're using software, and you're trying to get that software to talk to each other, and that software is not set up to talk to each other. That's not how they make their money. And so it's a really common problem in every industry. I think what's important to understand in automotive is there's a really sorted past, which is normally what happens is a class of software emerges called integrators. And you could actually consider Foureyes an integrator. Classic integrator in automotive would be Authenticom. Hey, we're going to take your data and we're going to allow you to connect it to other things. The sorted past in automotive is that those integrators they've tried to shut them down, right? So, like, in other industries, they welcome the integrators because it sort of can connect and collect and solve a lot of the problems in the industry.
Yeah, it's like in other industries, the tech providers are actually going, here, look, here's Zapier. Here, look, here's Make. Here, look, you guys should use this because it'll make you better with our stuff. And honestly, it probably reduces churn for them. Right?
Exactly. So that's other industries. But in automotive, they sue you, they shut you down, they try to get you into their certified integrations. The legal term would be cyber ransom. They cyber ransom your data. They do all of this stuff, right? And that, like, what's been interesting in our space is that, Authenticom came out and did a great service to the industry where they went against, David and Goliath, they slayed the giant. They won a really big lawsuit that gave them the rights and some of that set up. But now, as first party data has been deemed more and more valuable, I'll tell you, as an integrator, as someone who brings data together, we're watching those, what's the legal term would be database providers, but that's your CRM and your DMS. They're knocking on our door and they're going, hey, wait, we actually own this data. And we're going, no, you don't. And they're like, oh, yeah, we actually do. And we're going, wait, that's not what you're saying in your sales pitches. That's not what you're saying here. And so what's happening is, like, you look at a company like Foureyes, we've spent over $20 million on our data collection system. It should not require innovation is being held back. The customer experience, like when people say, why is the customer experience so bad in automotive? It's actually a data problem. Because like if you go to the doctor and you're like, Paul, you're worried about your health and you went and got your blood checked, your blood test, and you're really worried about what that's going to say. You're really nervous about it. You go to the doctor and you sit down with the doctor, not excited, but you're nervous to see the blood test results. And he's like, you know what? I'm having a hard time pulling them up. Let's just talk about how you feel. That's a bad doctor visit, right?
I'll tell you how I feel.
That's a bad doctor visit. That's the automotive sales process, because the software can't all connect. That's why digital retailing failed, right? Is because
it reminds me of a chapter in. Did you ever read Dale Pollock's book, Like I See It?
No.
So it was. I mean, it's probably at this point 6 or 7 years old, and he had a whole chapter talking about the lack of data availability stifling innovation. And I can't remember who he talked about an innovative company bringing a really much needed solution to the industry. And they kind of like packed up and went to another industry because it was too hard to get the data they needed to do it.
The reality is anybody working in automotive right now needs data. And the reality is that those database providers, CRMs and DMSs, are holding access. They're holding data hostage. And it's stopping all of the innovators from coming in. I mean, you look at the tech stack of Foureyes. So we use Salesforce, we use Pardot, we use SalesLoft. We've got this great tech stack. And we're spending about a quarter of what an auto dealer pays on a far inferior tech stack. And the reason is because vendors, all of the tools that we used cannot be used in an automotive setting because they can't be connected. And that's by design. And so like you look at it and you go, okay, so what's at risk? Well, the franchise auto dealer's future is at risk because you're highly disruptible when you can't evolve the customer experience. The OEM agency model is coming when you can't have your systems talk to each other, right? So like solving these problems is huge for the industry. And the good news for us, the thing that we feel so excited about, and like, we're getting ready to fight the fight. The struggle is real. But the good news actually is that there's a playbook happening right now that dealers just haven't woken up to. And I think I'll drop a little news here with you guys. Like, so CCPA, right? We all follow CCPA, whether or not we're doing business in California. Well, guess what? The great state of Arizona has something called the dealer data law. The dealer data law. The great state of Arizona. Look it up, right? The dealer data law is the best in class dealer data law that basically prohibits cyber ransom. It clarifies that the dealer owns their data. It's specifically written for automotive dealers. Clarifies the dealer owns their data. It can't be ransomed off. They can't prohibit access. They have to be able to share it. If they can't share it, they can't prohibit you from doing it. It stops exactly what's happening in automotive. So
how old is that law?
The law was passed in 2019. CDK and Reynolds sued to stop it. They lost in court to stop it. And so now Oregon has new laws on the books. Wyoming has new laws on the books. Montana has new laws. But here's the thing. All you dealers need to do, just same way we follow CCPA, go to your vendors and say, go to your CRMs and DMSs and say, you know what? I want you to follow the Arizona dealer law. It doesn't matter that I'm not in Arizona. You have to follow it in Arizona. So why are you choosing? What parts of this law are you choosing not to follow in my state? Tell me what parts of this law, right?
So, I mean, that's an action. That's like write down all your vendors, head it back to the phone, and there you go, right?
Follow me on LinkedIn. We're gonna continue. We're gonna start really talking about this, but there's a huge opportunity to quickly solve this problem, and we have Arizona to thank for it.
Jeff, where does this break down? Where does this like hamper your ability as like leading sales, leading marketing? Where does it hamper your ability to be effective at the dealership? And then maybe expound on that. Where does it hamper the ability for the customer to have a great experience? Like, can you pick out one or two pieces of that are changed because the access to data is so lost?
So hold on, I got a phone ringing back here. I got to turn it off. Sorry. I'm in a random office for this meeting.
If it's Morpheus, we'll be okay if you just duck down and then crawl to the window.
I'll say with these systems not talking to each other and behind it, I don't know, paywalls between, like, you have to pay so much money to get everything to connect. It seems like everyone is more excited to not connect with each other, to where my job is to make an educated decision for the group with the best data I have available. When nothing talks to each other, when every piece of information doesn't actually send to the next place, that when you have all these different tools, like the DR is not always functioning and connecting with all of our other advertising tools. It seems like there's so many extra steps to get things done. When we try to create a customer experience that's seamless and easy and it's evolving, the educated decision I have to make is based off looking at 30 different places that all tell me they're the best, that don't actually communicate with each other. It's a mess. Like, there is, tell me 5 vendors that all want to talk to each other. None of them do. They all want to say, we're the reason your doors are open. So for me, daily, it's an issue that, not owning my own data, I don't have the ability to call a company and say, I need you to send this portion of data to this company. It's like, well, we can't, we won't, because I don't own it.
And you look at generative AI, right? So like, Chat GPT, all of those types of systems. So what's happening now, so let me ask you a question. The notes that a salesperson enters on a lead, who owns that? Okay. But the CRMs in their certified interfaces do not allow you to get the access to the notes. So if you're building generative AI that's going to take all the data about Paul and bring it in and give him a customer experience, if I don't have the notes, I'm not going to see, hey, Paul wants to tow and he really cares about only getting a black vehicle.
Yeah, you're only going to see the vehicle that he's interested in and maybe address.
So now your generative AI seems dumb. It seems not that smart. You're like, this is not that good. And so you blame the vendor and you go, hey, this tool just, so, I blame anytime you sort of say, you know what? I love the promise of that company, but the delivery wasn't there. It's a data problem. So like, how does it affect everybody? Like, I could go down the line at every single company, and us founders of these companies, us CEOs of the companies, we talk about this one-on-one about, oh man, these guys, they just knocked on my door. They tried to restrict access. They're forcing me to do this. And I'm losing all this access to data. And by the way, they tried to sign me to a contract that said I can't say anything about it. And by the way, I'm not allowed to tell how much I'm really paying for this. And by the way, I had to sign a document that said they own this data. This is like hugely problematic for our
All
industry.
right. So let's flip, because like it's clearly a problem, but let's flip to this, because there's things that can be done right now. And you guys Jeff and the team at Foureyes and the way that you've interacted together is opening up some of this so that we can make real-time decisions and not take history lessons. What are some of those key things that you're doing right now to enable like a better future without obviously the conversation and dealers getting into that is extremely important for our future, but what can happen right now to make sure that we give the best possible customer experience, the best possible dealer experience that's at our fingertips?
So I think one thing, and I have this in like one of the things we sent, but like there's a framework for working with data that was taught to me by our head of data science, who's a PhD in data. And so we were always, looking at what we're going to build next. What are we doing next? And he's like, let me help impose some discipline here. There's a way to work with data. And I think that if dealers understand this, they will work more productively with vendors who are coming and selling. All of our solutions are using data at this in 2023. And that process is what we call collect, connect, visualize, activate. And now the reason, I'll tell you why this is so important. One, if you're a big dealer group right now and you're like investing in data, what we see with most big dealer groups is they're in what we call collect and connect hell. They're just trying to get like all this siloed data like to talk to each other, and they're spending a lot of time and resources trying to stand up systems that can do that. Benefit of Foureyes is like, hey, let's just get you past that and into the higher value areas where you're going to visualize and activate. Now, the key piece here is everybody always rushes to activate, right? Every vendor's solution is an activation. I'm going to take your data and I'm going to put it here and I'm going to put it here and I'm going to put it here. And it's all based off the implied assumption that that data is correct and accurate. And what I will tell you as a guy in this space is it takes a lot of work to get data correct and accurate. And so as a result, you go, okay, great. I'm going to pay you $2,500 a month to do this. I love the promise of your tool. But you actually haven't verified that the data is correct and accurate. And so then you come and you're like, it doesn't feel right, or it's not delivering the results. And it's because underneath the hood, it wasn't actually, they weren't able to get the right data. And that's,
I have a really interesting story. I was working with a dealer. We pulled like 20,000 records. They have a massive wholesale business, and about 30% of their customer base were businesses. Well, because the data was entered in a way that was like consumer data, basically. And the big point of this whole thing was a text campaign that was going to come out of this.
Yeah.
Those 30% all had business phone numbers in the cell phone line, right? Yeah. So it was like clear, that's never going to work, you know?
So Kyle, so exactly. So let me give you, so why the collect, connect, visualize, activate is such a good framework. So you as a dealer, as a buyer of software, if you're a dealer, move backwards down the chain. So, hey, vendor, I really like what you can do with my data. And in order to do this with my data, you must be able to see the data you're working with. So visualize for me, my data in your system. Show me my data in your system. And that will expose a lot of the problems that they're having and really help. I mean, that will help the vendor and help the dealer, because the dealer will see, to your point.
Can you give, I think you have what's an example of the way data can be visualized on a platform? Maybe the way that you guys are doing that.
Yeah. I mean,
can we move to that possibly?
Yeah, let me, and let's bring Jeff in a bit to, so like we're in the UDP right now. And let's see, I'll start at the first line, which is like, and Jeff, you can talk more about, like, Jeff uses this report all the time. This is not Ourisman's data. This is like a fake dealer group. These are real dealers, but we've just changed their name and put them in a dummy group. So what you're first looking at is like, well, I have a bunch of stores in a group. I want to bring them all together. I want to compare apples to apples. So I'm not just trying to compare, like a lot of times what happens is you can have different dealers on different CRMs, or they're on the same CRM, but they're using their CRM slightly differently. So coming in and Jeff, you always start here, I think, right? Is how you start your day.
Yeah. I mean, this is where we want to see this is where I can really judge where things are, just on while I do understand not all customers shop through leads. We get thousands of leads a month, and we need to convert at the highest rate possible. So this helps me judge what vendors are driving in there, who I can judge the stores against each other. I can see where things are going. And this allows me to help make an educated decision on, do we need to tweak things? Is it the season? Is it, it just helps me get a real feel for where my stores are with the vendors, with the money we're spending.
So like in this example, good data doesn't answer questions, it asks better questions. So it's like, okay, so a better drive, I'm just picking on something. Their leads are down 60 this month. Their close rate's actually a bit up. I can see here, car time is way down on their leads. So then what's happening with them? And you can come in and very quickly see, okay, now let's drill down into that location and see what's happening with their leads. And what's happening in the data that's here is all of the leads, but not just the CRM activity, also the website activity is all brought into the system. So you can drill down and see exactly what each lead's website journey was. And so here I can see that this dealer is basically pacing to have a bad month, right? So Jeff, you drill down. How would you interpret this?
I can look at this and start asking questions. Is it the market? Did we pull back advertising spend? Where's our inventory? One thing that from on that previous slide, but in general, anyone that has worked in automotive and worked within a CRM with new vehicles, that if you're trying to judge just your website leads, it can be 15 different things. It could be the chat provider you added to the site. It could be the widget you put on your site to drive trade-in leads or to drive appointments, your actual website button, or your actual OEM that took over your site. So now you have to you're having to check all these different places, do the math yourself, and figure out what your real closing rate is just on traffic that's arrived at your site. What this system allows me to do is to classify that all into one line and say, this is what my website traffic is actually converting at, and then I can break it out into the different platforms.
Yeah.
So,
like for example, I'm looking here at paid Google, and I'm seeing, okay, show me all the leads, all the sales where they were influenced by paid Google. So this is Mary Catherine. She was a dealer website lead. These are all, these are all her interactions. Anything in blue was influenced by paid Google. So 84 days ago, she came on paid Google, and then she bought a vehicle 15 days ago. This Carol M, again, we've obscured their PII because we're in demo mode, came directly from Google, came in, bought a car. In the CRM, they were attributed to referral. And so all of the data, basically all of that data is sitting here and organized. And all we're doing it now is building reports that visualize different ways of looking at the data. But I think the other important thing is we've also set it up so that that data can now be shared. So that clean, organized hygiene data, if you want to share it with a vendor, if you're saying, hey, this vendor is held back by bad data, you can now share it with the data. That's where we're going, is to say, let's open up the ability to share information here. Because
I think that's huge. Is like, it's almost like leading with the question right now. What you're bringing to light here is that every single conversation that starts is like, how willing is your company to share data with the other companies that I'm connected with? Because if I don't get that as a dealer, I am going to be at a loss for how I can serve my customers, serve my employees, and grow my business incrementally. Just a thing that sits out on an island is never going to solve all the problems for me. And that's what you're saying. It's like, nope, we're opening it up. Here it comes.
Yeah,
if you need this, it's go. Yeah.
Guess what? It's not our choice. It's the dealer's data, right? So if we follow the letter of the law, we say this is not like, look, by opening it up, we're going to have people build copycats of our tools way easier. It's going to bastardize some of our revenue. I get that. But guess what? It's not my data to say yes or no. It's the dealer's data. So shoot, we're going that way anyway. Let's open it up. Let's swim with the river of progress instead of swimming against it. Let's open it up and let's trust our innovation skills. And so, we partnered with Outsell, where we have a great partnership with Outsell now. If a dealer wants to share the data with Outsell, they can just very quickly come and drop down, ship it over to them, and it's the dealer's choice to do that. And it's the dealer's data, but the dealer can do that. And Outsell might compete with us on some of our products. It's not my data to decide.
But David, part of me, my gut tells me, because I'm not as smart as you guys, so I have to say my gut, not my brain. The people limit things because they want you to stay within their system of products. And no one has mastered everything. I don't care who sits in front of me. No one has mastered every single aspect of advertising, of the customer, of the websites, customer buying journey, not one person has figured it out. But the more they handcuff absolutely everything, the more you are married to them and have to spend your money with them. And so does that give the customer the best experience possible? Absolutely not. But it certainly makes a company make more money. At the end of the day, my job for my customers is to give them the best experience possible, not to have someone handcuff all my information. And if I'm paying the money to drive the customer to the site to collect the info, that's not anyone else's, that is mine. And when I get a call in the middle of a month that says, hey, our connection to this program has disconnected, and so now this other program that was helping bring people back to my website can't work, and I have to go and make calls to get everything get everything reconnected, I've lost time. It's frustrating, and it doesn't make any sense. Like it feels like a giant waste of time.
Jeff, can you give us, just as we wrap up here, can you give us like one thing that has been an actionable takeaway in, let's say, the last 60 days from being able to visualize your data, like something that you saw that then you were able to immediately turn and go, we're going to take action on this because I was able to see this real time?
Sure. I work directly with our stores general managers. My having the experience I have in advertising and sales, some things naturally click in my head where I say this is the correct decision to make. To visually show that to general managers, to make them understand that at the end of the year we spent 8 figures on advertising, and here's why. One is social media advertising that doesn't directly create a lead. When through this UDP, that I can go in and actually show them a customer's buying journey. I can show them where the customers returned to the site 10 times, and it took them maybe a vendor brought them to the site, but Facebook brought them back 10 times, or Foureyes email software brought them back. It helps justify why we're paying for these vendors and not just paying for leads. So within that system, you can pull up a sold customer and see the entire click journey, what brought them back. Having that visual to show GMs, I think, empowers the store to understand where the money is going and make better decisions.
And I'll say I got a call right before this from one of our dealer groups who said, they were like, look, we're using the data and we're drilling in more. And one of the things we're finding is that our definition of success on the sales level, like we were punishing Paul because he only sold 10 cars and we thought he should have sold more, but we weren't looking at the quality of the leads he was getting. And so we realized that Paul was actually doing great considering the quality of leads he was getting. We just need to give him better leads. And so we're seeing a lot, and that's been happening with the labor, what's going on with the labor, and I'm just going like this. And so a lot of those, like our idea of what success is, like our job is to keep our people and make them really efficient and effective for our business. And the way we're going to do that is good access to data.
Well, David, there's a special offer for people that are on this webinar or watch it a little bit later. What is the offer?
What is it? I don't even know. Should I know this?
Gosh, let me tell you.
Your team has done the wonderful of giving your platform away for a year. 60 days.
Get to make it whatever we want it now.
He's okay. Here it comes. No.
Yeah, no. My team's going to kill me for not knowing that. But yeah, so 60-day free trial. Yeah, great.
And how easy is it to actually get set up on the free trial?
Well, so our free trials we've been doing it for a long time, and it's great because it's put our money where our mouth is. It's no strings attached. It's not an auto enroll. It's 60 days, and we sign you up, and then we check in with you, and we do it. And you know what? We convert a really high amount because we prove that it's value. And what people see, like we hear all the time, the line Foureyes just works.
Yes.
And that's because we spend so much time making sure the data is correct, right? We spend so much time actually getting the right data.
Gotta love that. Nothing is more automotive than try before you buy. David, Jeff, thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking about this incredibly important issue that probably doesn't get talked about enough, but the volume and the intensity is getting louder. So thanks for joining us today to talk about it.
Thank you guys. You're the best. Keep on keeping on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Anne-Marie, bring us home.
Hey, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. I sure did. We love working with Dave and chatting with him, and Jeff's insights are always fantastic too. So thank you so much for joining us. We will have another webinar coming up next month, but if you or anyone you know missed this one, I guess not you because you're here, but if you want to share this, pass it along. That email will be coming out on Friday, and don't forget about the 60-day free trial. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.